Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Media Club. Today, we're going to go through some National Treasure Book of Secrets. Today, I'm joined by Austin, Chris, and LeighErin. How you guys doing tonight?
Great. Ready to finally talk about this movie.
You know, I was gonna go like straight for like a quote from the movie, you know?
Mhm.
And then I thought, hey, maybe I shouldn't say something like I'm gonna kidnap the president of the United States.
Yeah, don't say that. Don't say that.
I think I just ended up on a list.
I mean, that was the I'm going to steal the Declaration. Like, literally,
It is
almost
the
word
same.
for word. Same shot, same everything, same cadence.
So good.
So deliberate.
So I was
Follow
gonna
up.
use that as my intro quote, and then I went, I probably should.
So,
Oh boy.
it was immediately
I'm good, thank you.
followed
How
up.
are you?
Doing good. Bit of a rough day at work, but we're powering through it. Yeah, but that scene, real quick, was just followed up by an even worse like heist prep scene, because it was just like, hey, let's call these venues and book it before
It was very weird.
the White House can.
Very weird.
This movie has no build-up.
No.
It's got
It
no
just
build up,
goes-
and then also it just kind of goes from scene to scene, and also it just doesn't feel as well thought out. It's kind of like the movie version of like if like a kid tried to explain to me what the plot of this movie was. It's kind of what the flow of the movie is. It's like, first they're in Paris because there's a clue on the other Statue of Liberty, and then they have to go to Britain to check out the desk, and then they have to go to the White House to check out the desk, and then he kidnaps the president, and then they go to South Dakota.
There.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and it's just like this. It's like they were here. There's no room to breathe at all in this movie.
Well,
And listen,
I was just gonna say that's the whole like. I was taking notes from this. That kind of shows is because I literally have no notes from like that first scene in like the when they're talking like about the doing that recap, and then I have nothing until they see Helen Mirren.
It's so
Wow.
it's so funny because like it's like here's the amount of notes that I took on the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the amount of notes I took on the second movie.
Oh wow. Oh, you got Taco Bell stuff? I got Taco Bell stuff.
You guys were all holding up notes. I was like, what do I got?
Mine's
There's
on
a packet
Google
of
Doc.
socks right here. So here we
Because
go.
I can type faster than I write, so.
my notes for the first movie were. I think it's
Expansive.
indicative of me how much I dislike a movie on how many notes I write. That was all my notes on National Treasure 1. I have so many. This is all on the first scene.
Oh, jeez.
Oh no.
Because I have so many. Okay, first, I'm going to preface this entire thing with, because I have this feeling throughout the entire movie.
I didn't bring any popcorn.
Everything Abigail says to Ben about what you should do in a relationship, please listen to. Please. There is nothing more infuriating than when your boyfriend or your husband or whatever assumes that since they know you, they know what you want, and even if they are right, like, ask. Always just ask. Don't just do things, because then it feels like you're our dad, and that's not fun. No one wants to date their dad, or if they do, you don't want to be in a relationship with them. If they want to date their father, you don't want to be in a relationship with them.
It's probably indicative of like my personality, and it's probably is negative. But when he said, "I get lucky a lot," I loved that. Like, I was like, "Yes."
It's like, yeah, you do, but still, like.
So
That's something I would say. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I just found their relationship to really just kind of be annoying. It's like that. The fact that they split up just kind of really doesn't go anywhere. Like I couldn't get, despite like her saying that, and I do agree with LeighErin being like, hey, like don't assume what I like and that sort of thing. It's I never felt like I got a good concrete reason why they'd split and were suddenly assholes to each other for 2/3 of the movie.
That's kind of where I'm at too. Where like I actually really enjoyed the banter, but their motivations to what led them to that moment made no sense to me. Like you kicked him out, and then this is this is how you're treating each other. Like it didn't line up to me.
It's a really interesting dichotomy from the end of the first movie where she draws a treasure map to her butt. So
It's canon. It's canon.
the canon.
Not her butt. That's not it. Never mind.
I have to bitch about Ed Harris for a second, really quick. Because
Okay.
this is why I feel this movie suffers. I don't think Ed Harris is as good a villain as Sean Bean is. I think
Oh,
it's
that guy.
very
Yeah.
hard where in the
Yeah.
first
Yep.
movie you go from having a really good villain who's smart and like he's always Ed Harris's character is always one step behind.
Really just tracking him from his phone.
Exactly.
Shout
Where like
out to the Motorola Razor though, which is all over
No.
this movie, and I loved it. And I
No.
finally had that old
MSN?
person moment to where I saw the Razor and I went, times were better. You know, it was
2007.
it was
I had a
better.
Razor
Things were
and I
better
loved it.
pre-smartphone.
I loved it.
Yeah, it's just like he's
I
always
also had
one
a
step
Razor, it was
behind
great.
them. He's tracking them. Where Sean Bean, like he does have the whole thing of like, why is this letter capitalized, gentlemen? Because it's a
Because
name.
it's
Like
important.
Austin talked a lot about it on the because it's important. Austin talked a lot about it in our first media club on the first movie because like that Sean Bean is just as intelligent. He has these little moments where he like geeks out with Ben and like you don't really get that from Ed Harris.
Like it. Go ahead.
Okay, I was yeah, like Ed Harris' character just kind of feels like he's sort of just bumbling his way through it. Like he tracks him, and
I
he's
have this
got
page.
they managed to like do a like a one-line mention. And he's like, yeah, he's got some like underworld contacts or whatever, but it's like you miss the relationship that sort of like grounded Sean Bean's character from the first movie, because it's like he was part of the hunt for the national treasure in the first one, and kind of solidified that he's supposed to be there, and there's a reason that he's kind of got all of these underworld contacts and stuff. In the second one, this dude shows up and he's like, also, yeah, I've got a bunch of goons that have guns. Like it felt like they were there specifically so we could have a chase scene, because I was like, holy shit, they just started firing on him the moment they saw him. Like
specifically there, they call it out in the movie as mercenary and or antique collector or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like
yeah, well,
what?
I think when I think of the when I think of the villains from 1 to 2, I can picture. I mean, we did just watch the movie, but like even before rewatching it, I could picture the goons that were in the first movie. Like I memorized them or not, but I remembered them having scenes and having dialogue. Whereas these guys, I don't even know what they look like. I don't remember what they look like at all. Besides Ed
There's
Harris.
one guy with a hilarious Southern accent that I thought was incredible.
Oh yeah. I thought of the quarterback from Friday Night Lights. The Fast and Furious guy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, because like the big thing that it gets into is like I wrote it and then the FBI agent says it, where it's like, why hold on to this for 140 years?
Yep.
You had this for 140 years. Like, what do you do? Of course, nobody believes you. And then like he's like, I know shit. Like that's Latin. Booth yelled, you know, whatever the fuck Booth yelled after killing him. Down with
Six
all
Emperor
tyrants.
Tyrannus.
And it's like.
And I know that because of Seinfeld, weirdly enough.
Ascendo too, so I can yell random shit in Latin too. Everyone back there knew Latin. It's not special
Vitae.
that like
Cristo.
Yeah, like
I watched Supernatural.
like I went to Catholic school in the mid 2000s and I know Latin. Like everybody knew Latin back then. It was just like what you were taught. Like it's not in that theater when Booth yelled that. Everybody knew what he was saying. It wasn't like he was like, I'm special, and like jumped on the stage and broke his leg. He was giving and it's just like it's very weird because we're not given any motivation for it other than
I can sum up the motivation for like why he got in a cage. It's literally just, I needed you to find the treasure. That's the blanket statement, and that is never really like.
And he straight up says it. He straight up says it at the end, like right before he dies. He's like, "Look, I'm sorry I had to slander your granddad to get you to help me find this treasure."
Which is bull. If you would have just told him that you had like an
legitimately,
idea
it would have been like, "Hey, I think I can find the city of gold." He would have been like, "Yeah, let's fucking do this shit." Like,
that's the thing that I do. I that's my big thing that I don't. Also, I'm gonna preface this entire thing. I meant to say this at the top. This movie also touches on some more problematic things than the last movie did. Having the entire film revolve around Mount Rushmore and the City of Gold, which was never part of Native American or ancient Mesoamerican culture. It was something conquistadors came up with. It's not okay, and like today, that kind of shit would not have flown.
I have a lot of notes in here about how weirdly nationalist this movie is.
Yeah, and they
the first movie was like, sure, it's a treasure hunt across like American history, like fine, okay, but this one has a real like America, fuck yeah, kind of vibe to it. That I was like, this is strange.
And I feel like there's more things they could have done in this film, like more American conspiracies they could have done that don't involve just glossing over what the Spanish conquistadors did to the indigenous people of the Americas.
Also, it's the same thing, but they make the mention of in the president's secret book, which is also a hilarious concept.
Let me tell you, Bill Clinton would have told us. The man could. The man was so excited.
He would have been like, "Yo, check this shit out."
Literally, in his first public interview after being elected, he was like, "If there's a secret book and it says the aliens are real, I will tell you. I promise." It was on like the Tonight Show. It's bananas.
And then he was tackled.
He was so excited just to be there. He would have said anything. But it's like on top of that though, just in that problematic thing to where there's a line when they put the secret book where they realize they say that the guy that like designed Mount Rushmore, like designed it so that it would cover up a landmark so people could not find the city of gold and make the thing unrecognizable. But like, why are you trying to turn this dude into a good guy? That dude was a gigantic asshole. One, they do not and still don't own the land that they carved it into. Mount Rushmore is a terrible, 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 terrible monument.
So really quick, I'm just gonna do like a speed run of that kind of stuff. The city of what is it called? It starts with a C.
Cibola.
Cibola isn't real. So basically, what that was Spanish conquistadors went into what is now Mexico, and they found a civilization that did not realize. I mean, no one did. Gold is a white people made gold have value. It doesn't actually have value. I mean, now it does because of microchips and shit like that, but back then it didn't. And because that's what the Spanish and the English used to make their money, they thought it had value. But the indigenous people of Mexico didn't. They used it for ceremonies, and there's literally used to be a lake in Central America that is where they would just throw gold in this lake as part of a ceremony when their new kings would be have their coronation, for lack of a better term. And they found the lake and went, this isn't enough, there has to be more somewhere. And literally conquistadors made up a city of gold because what they found wasn't enough. It was never real. There is no actual ancient text to those Native Americans that links to a city of gold that is completely created by the Spanish conquistadors. And on top of that, at a later point, they say that they think the writing is Aztec or Incan. The Incans don't have a written language. They never did. They used thread. To this day, we have no idea what their records mean because it was literally different colored strings and different links. They're just basic. It's like, it looks like something you would buy on Etsy. It's a hoop with all of these strings. We don't know how to read it. That's why I'm just saying, like, it's not like the hieroglyphs that the Aztecs and the Mayans had, where like,
it's literally not a written language. Like,
no, we've lost all of that. However,
that's why we need a time machine.
However, I did have a moment when Helen Mirren goes, "Oh well, this is Olmec," and all I could think of was Raul Coley. Olmec, look at the Olmec. Google Olmec because that's my favorite video of that man. It's such a funny video.
Now, one fact.
So that's just a blanket thing. It glosses over a lot of stuff. Mount Rushmore is bad. It never should have been made. All of this just eliminates what Spanish conquistadors, French colonizers, and English colonizers and early American people did to this country. And like, y'all recognize that?
Now, one other quick, while we're on Mount Rushmore and all that, that lake that they're at is actually like 20 miles beyond Mount Rushmore. It's not like right behind it.
Correct. I've been. I used to live in South Dakota. They did film that on location, which I at least found interesting. I was like, oh yeah, no, they're actually in the Black Hills and stuff, and that's cool. Just like on top of all of that as well, I think it's. Do we know is it the same director?
Yes, it is.
Is it? Because I didn't recall seeing like Bruckheimer involved with this one. So is it just John Turteltaub or whatever his name
Yep.
is then? Because there's that point where they're in the Buckingham Palace and they decide, okay, I'm gonna make a huge scene so that way security will grab me and I'll do it. And it's simultaneously, it's like the most like Nicolas Cage thing in the entire thing. Like he just goes full Nick Cage. But I was sitting there and he starts
Hello.
just busting out all of this like stereotypical like British shit, and I'm like, is this racist? It's like it felt weird, right? I was like, this feels a little strange.
Yeah, I almost wrote a note where I was like, I don't think you can go to this part of Buckingham Palace. And then I remembered that when I was in London, there had been a terror attack recently, like somewhere in Europe. So like Buckingham Palace was on lockdown and no one could go inside. I'm like, maybe that's why I remember not being able to go in for tours of Buckingham Palace. It's just because it was closed when I was there.
Unfortunately, that checks out.
Can I also mention, I think one of my biggest notes here is just the character assassination of Riley. Which, one, I think all of his comedic bits really still hit in this movie. I thought he was still very funny. Poor dude gets kicked around a lot for no reason in this movie. But on top of that, there's so mean to him in this movie.
Than Riley.
There's such a dick. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Everyone's a dick to Riley in this movie, and then on top of that, there's just this weird thing where Riley just kind of became Hacker Man. Like he's getting into like the
a traffic cam, a random traffic cam in London,
like traffic cam to pull photos. He's messing around with stuff at security in the Buckingham Palace, and they explain. No, in no way do they explain how he got into that. At least when they did the thing in the archives, like we see him like physically like putting his cameras in places and capturing feeds and doing all that stuff. This one he walks in with an iPod and a Palm Pilot and sticks it to a wall in the bathroom and he taps a whole bunch and then goes, "I'm in."
Also, really quick, Borders still exists. So, LOL, Motorola Razors, iPods, and Borders.
It's a real time capsule. This movie.
I don't even know. I don't even know what a border. What's a border? I don't even know what that is.
Borders, the bookstore.
It's a bookstore.
Oh, I have no idea.
That's the bookstore he's in. So they closed in like 2010. They went bankrupt and closed because at that point everybody was like either Barnes and Nobles or buying books online
or Amazon.
I literally made a joke where I was like, the poor marketing of Riley's book signing is why Borders no longer exist. But also, how do people not know who Riley is? Because I don't mean to be an asshole, but like, if this really happened, if say tomorrow, two guys and a chick came out and were like, that's a man and a lady, I don't know how to phrase this. Move on. Came out and were like, we found this treasure that dates back to the Masons and the Knights Templar. We would all know their names. Their faces would be everywhere. They would be at the White House receiving medals of honor. How do you not know who Riley is? Like, when all these women are coming up and are like, "Are you Ben Gates?" It's like, right? Real talk, Riley would be swimming in women. Like, he would have so many women. Just I really, and I know it's because I have a huge crush on Riley still to this day. I looked him up recently. He's got a
good looking guy.
He looks real filthy.
Ooh. I'm gonna look him up right now.
With his beard, he looks hot. But everybody would know who he is. Like, they wouldn't be like, "Oh, Ben Gates." Like,
even like outside of that too, there's like this weird thing. It's like where they took like the one or two scenes where Ben and Abigail like kind of poked at him a little bit, and then turned that like from the first movie, and then turned that into like how everyone treats Riley, and like Ben and Abigail are assholes to him in this one. And then it's like, while I do find it kind of funny, there's that running joke of Riley being like, "This is in my book. You guys didn't read my book? If my friend wrote a book, I'd absolutely read it. Are you kidding me?" Like,
the only person I will give a little bit of leeway is that Ben goes, "I'm moving." I get that. I was given a lot of stuff right before I moved to California, and everybody would be like, "Did you look at this yet?" I'm like, all of my stuff is in boxes. Please let me get settled in, and then I
agree. I agree, but I also feel like Ben would be the type of person who would be like, "I'm moving, so I don't have to read it because I can use it as an excuse." Like he's like 7 moves ahead at this point. He's like, "I don't have to read this because I'm moving."
And I also kind of give Ben the pass the two, just where it's like he was there.
I lived it.
Sure.
Yeah, I
but it is also about more than just the
Other
Templar's
conspiracies
treasure.
and
It's
whatnot.
it's other conspiracies because that's where they find out about the book.
I will
Is from
say,
Riley's book.
Patrick Gates should have read it because he's old and has nothing better to do with his life.
Yeah, he
he should
absolutely
have read
would've
the
read it.
book.
I will say, pertaining to Riley and Patrick, my favorite movie or my favorite scene in the entire movie is like when they're talking and they have a moment where he's like, "Oh, did you learn that from my book?" And they just look at each other and then they make little faces and Riley's like,
Yeah.
That is really good. Yeah, Patrick just stares
so
him down.
hard.
Also, a lot of the logic that just puts this forward makes no sense. Because, like, that whole part when, like, they're looking at that little piece of paper on the infrared scan, which that's not really what that looks like, but whatever. I don't know if the tech that they're saying they have actually existed back then.
I don't know if it exists now.
Well, infrared scanning for pages does now exist,
Sure.
and they can like pick up like but it's more for like imprints, or if you're writing with a traditional fountain pen, you can pick up the patterns if you close it when the ink's still dry, you can pick up the patterns of the words and in theory flip it. But that's like
Yeah, but this page got thrown
recent.
into a fire
Yeah, exactly.
100 years
And
ago.
those fountain
declaration.
ink is carbon. It would have burnt off with the smoke very quickly and like probably have been gone forever. Um and it's just like because Riley said something like in 100 years nobody's going to know. Now nobody knows who was part of the
Just Booth.
conspiracy
Yeah,
besides
just
John
Booth.
Wilkes Booth.
Just Booth.
And he does the whole thing of his name is Mud. Everybody knows that phrase, but nobody knows the fucking origin. I knew the origin, but that's because my dad's a nerd. Like,
But
that's the only reason
that's
I
also
knew.
so funny to where that's him using the "My name is Mud" story as justification for him trying to clear his great grandfather's name or whatever. And so he's
supposed
like,
to be.
and so he goes, "Hey, you know the phrase "My name is Mud"?" And Riley goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you know the origin of that?" And Riley goes, "No."
Does anyone but you?
That's the end of it.
That's the beginning
what I
and
mean.
end of the conversation.
Yeah, that should have been the end of it. That automatically proves against exactly what, the point that Ben's trying to say. Yeah.
Like I get that if you want to, just because it's your family and it's important to you, you want to clear the name, but like you don't need to do it for history's sake. I guarantee you that if somebody was like, we found the new name of one of the conspirators in the Lincoln assassination, everybody would be like, cool. Anyways.
Yeah, that'd be
like,
a buzzworthy thing for like a few hours, and then no one would ever read
we'd
about
all
it
be
again.
like, cool, Booth still shot him in the head.
Yeah.
Like,
really quick,
who
I'm so
cares?
sorry. This has to do with John Wilkes Booth, and every time he is mentioned, I think of it. Do you guys know the show that it used to be on TBS? I think now it's on the Travel Channel, Ghost Adventures.
Yes, I'm also
heard
familiar with the Nick Kroll parody from the Kroll show, Ghost Bouncers.
Yes,
I'm Zach Baggins or whatever his name is. I don't know.
Yes. So it is something like Jack Baggins or something.
I think it's Zach. It's Zach something, right? I think I nailed it actually.
Ghost Adventures.
Yeah, you did.
I think it's Zach Baggins.
His name's because I call him Bilbo all
They're on season 24.
Yes, it started. I was in middle school when that show started, and my family watched the first episode because we loved the original Ghost Hunters. That was Taps. That they're actually like respectable people and depend on science and don't think everything they hear is ghosts. And I say that as somebody who is open to the idea of ghosts being real. But anyways,
it does make for goofs, but beyond that, it's not great.
In Ghost Adventures, their first episode is them doing an investigation at the farm that Booth went to get his leg fixed. It's the barn he died in because they just set it on fire and started firing into the barn, which is fucking hilarious. But anyways, they literally pretended in their first episode they're recording in the barn and they're like, "Who's here with us?" And then they're like, "And then we caught this EVP saying, 'I'm John Wilkes Booth,' and they play it and it's just like." And they're like putting up subtitles trying to make it seem like they got this ghost being like, "I am John Wilkes Booth." And it's like, why? Hey, why would he say that?
If I was a spirit,
I would use my full name.
If I did believe, if I'm saying anything, which I wouldn't, I would probably just say, "Fuck off."
Like, go.
That's it.
Stop talking.
Leave me alone.
One of my favorite pieces of evidence. One of my favorite pieces of evidence any ghost hunter has ever gotten is it was a clear EVP from the guys who do BuzzFeed Unsolved, where Shane went, is there anyone here with us? And you get a really clear EVP of just some voice going, no, which I think is very funny.
That's
I'd hear that and I would go, cool, thank you, and leave. Like, that'd be the end of it.
It's like,
that's kind of what Shane did. Shane was kind of like, all right, then, we're going to go.
The voice
That's
is
so
like,
good, I didn't know that.
Be great if the voice was like, you mean besides me? Oh, we got Ralph back here.
They're like,
we got Jimmy.
You're here. I did want to circle back around to just
the name.
We were talking about like the concept of like character motivations.
No.
Bill Hader?
I thought he said Ralph. He said Ralph, and then something else. I thought he said Ralph Nader. I was like, was Ralph Nader dead? Is he a ghost now? What?
And then Chris was like, Bill Hader? I love how we got there.
I heard Hader, and I went, what, Bill Hader?
Anyway, can we jump around a little bit?
Yeah, no, here, I'm on it. Don't worry, because this was another note that I really wanted to, that I just found interesting about this movie, because you know, this was a movie that I think when I'd watched it like as a teenager, I went, yeah, that was a fun movie, and then kind of left. And now I hadn't seen it since I was like 16 again. And I watched this and I go, woo, this movie does not hold up as well as I thought it did. But when we're talking about the characters, like character motivations, there's a scene early on where we get our FBI agents again. It's the same actors. Kudos for them for coming back for this movie. But we get to see Sandusky again. And there's a really great point where one of the agents like walks up to Sandusky and he's like, hey, like your boy's in the paper. And they're like, oh man, that sucks about his great granddad or whatever. And then Sandusky's like, you know what? Let's investigate this dude. And I'm like, why? What are you doing?
Why the fuck is he coming out with this all of a sudden? Like,
we don't have anything better to do.
So you're the FBI.
That's what I mean.
If somebody was coming out with evidence like that and like trying to get money and fame and all that kind of shit, the FBI is who would technically handle it because it has to do with a former president, and that's just, like, part of their thing.
The investigation wouldn't start like that. That's what I'm going to say.
No.
Hey, look at this paper article. Bam.
Right.
But I appreciate that the FBI agent was like, also, first, the female agent is so excited that Ben's name is being dragged through the mud, and I don't understand why. Like, she's like, guess what? Isn't it like, I thought my family was bad. Like, look at this. Like, it's like, why are you so excited?
Chill.
Did he do something?
I didn't question that at all. It's like, cool.
She's like, why are you excited? Like,
I do feel like we got to shout out Sandusky for being like the homiest of homies. Though he's like, let's take a walk, and then he goes, yeah, there's a book. He's like 100% no. He's like, no, it's real.
It was weird how he was committing a crime, and then he's like, no, when Gates is committing a crime, he's like, no, you're committing a crime, and I'm just like, everyone's committing crimes in this movie. What do you mean?
I did like the scene at the end though, to where they kind of reversed the end.
Committed the crime too.
Where they reversed the end of the first one, to where like they're sitting down and he's like, hey, I found the treasure, and they're like, all right, well, somebody's got to go to jail, Ben. And then the second one, he's like, hey, I found the treasure, and he goes, you kidnapped the president.
I remember as a kid when the president is like, "This, I can't tell them why unless you find the treasure." And as a kid, I was like, "Does that change anything?"
No,
like,
that doesn't
think that makes any sense. When I was a child, I was like, "No."
Well, I mean, also on top of that, I still haven't, and maybe y'all can explain it to me because my big dumb monkey brain can't quite make sense of this. How does finding Cibola clear John Gates' name?
That's what I was getting at, by the way.
Yeah. What's the thread? Somebody help me.
I don't know.
It becomes not about Thomas for a while, but the idea is that they were seeking him out, they had written down his name, not because he was a part of it, but because he was one of like 8 people that could break the cipher so that they could find the City of Gold and use the money from the City of Gold to basically make the Southern Confederate Army way stronger so that they actually would have been able to defeat the North. That's literally all it has to do. That's literally it. It just clears
they just
his
needed
name
him for
by
the
saying
cipher.
that like they just needed him for the cipher. It's very loose
logic.
That's
real thin. That's real thin because there's no reason at all to not be like, okay, you found the city, but like he still helped kill President Lincoln. Like, how are that's so razor thin? Oh my gosh.
They were playing Wordle back in 2007 with the cipher.
There's that 5-letter word.
That was my other issue, is they pretend all this big tech, like Chris was saying, they crack open an iPod and hack into the Buckingham Palace security system, but they can't write a code to fill out that cipher by itself. Like, you could write a code for that now.
I don't think they had the entire cipher. And also, it wasn't until Patrick remembered the debt that Almond paid where they had the key.
Yeah, but when they're just sitting and they're plugging in like every word and he's writing Baron, it's how they come up with Laboulet.
Oh, it's a good
and
point.
They're missing
Yeah,
the
yeah,
two
yeah.
letters. You could absolutely write a code to
Oh,
go
yeah.
through every word in the English dictionary, plugging in until you got like however many.
Maybe he didn't have his iPod in that scene.
Yeah, it's what's very like.
Wasn't in
I
Borders.
know
Or
people like
he left his Palm Pilot in his Lamborghini.
Ferrari.
Sorry.
It's fine.
I didn't even
I just
notice.
want to give a quick shout out to.
I was like, expensive car.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to give a quick shout out to the was it Bruce Greenwood, who plays the president in this movie, because he is such a great actor. Like, he's always one of those people that like, and he has those high commanding roles. Like, he was Commander Pike in the Star Trek movies.
That was it too. He showed up and I went, oh shit, it's Pike.
Yeah. And
Whenever
then
I see him in things, he's usually a really good asshole. In this one, he wasn't, but just in everything else that I've ever seen him in, he's a really good a-hole. That's why on the record. He plays that well.
Yeah, but he also played the president in Kingsman 2, and he put it completely differently. Yeah, he plays it completely differently in that movie, like more comedic in that one. But like this role, he's a lot more like his like Commander Pike, like more role commanding presence.
He's also in Batman Under the Red Hood.
Wait, what?
In Death of the Family. Yeah.
He plays Batman, or he voices Batman in some of the animated.
He's the voice of Batman in that one?
In Under the Red Hood and Death of the Family, he's Batman. Yeah.
I did not know that.
And
what?
Batman Bruce Wayne.
I did not. I thought it was what's his face the whole time, like the animated series guy. Yeah, Kevin Conroy. Thank you.
Really quick about him, and this is not his fault. I'm not blaming him. But
Sounds like
I would just like the screenwriters of America to explain to me, or like the casting directors. I don't even know who to blame.
America.
Why, when we cast the president, unless he's a main character, like if the president's just like a side character who's there for like 10 minutes, is he always a cowboy? Why? Can somebody like this Love Actually, the president is always this like Dilfy guy who's like a cowboy, and it's like
You've dropped Dilf twice now. I think that's amazing.
Well, yeah, you also got to remember that when did this movie come out? What year?
2007.
2006. Oh.
Yes.
I mean, it's we're just after or during. I don't remember. I mean, is
towards the
Bush.
end of.
Are you going to say that
Bush.
George W. Bush is a cowboy? Because I think there are
No.
cows that would be offended by that.
No, I'm not. But he did have that southern drawl, and I think a lot of time when the president was represented in media at that time is very southern.
Sure.
Yeah,
No,
I don't know. I don't get it. Because there is not a single U.S. president except for maybe Teddy Roosevelt. I'm like, cowboy.
Well, that's what that's what I'm saying.
Guy.
This movie's weirdly nationalist at times. Like it's
totally.
really strange.
Can we jump around to something else before I forget this point?
Sure.
Watching this movie the first time, like when I was a kid, Ed Harris's character, the villain, I don't remember his name in the movie.
Harris.
But
Wilkinson.
Sure. Thank you, Wilkinson. I remember watching this as a kid, okay? And the moment at the end where he sacrifices himself kind of to hold on. And I remember watching this as a kid and being like, oh, that was great. That was awesome. Watching it back now, I'm like, this makes no goddamn sense.
Nope.
Why is this happening?
Nope.
But as a child, I was like, wow. Like, I was amazed at this character turn. Like, this is when I was just getting into anime. And I was like, ah!
Oh yeah.
Like, oh my God, he did it. Yeah. I don't know.
In that same vein, watching it watching it as a child, it didn't like I didn't really have critical thinking skills, so I was like, fun movie.
That's kind of what I'm getting at too.
Yeah. But now I'm watching it and going, you created a Chekhov's gun by naming him Wilkinson, And it would have been a much better twist if the reason at the end was that he is a descendant of John Wilkes Booth, and they just took the Wilkes and made it Wilkinson to, like,
It,
cover up. Like,
it
that
would
would
have
have
been
been
cool.
such a better twist. And, like, there's a lot of, content out there where
It
you
also kind
have,
of would have
like,
explained why he had the page.
why he exactly,
Yeah.
like, it
Yeah.
you created the writers just kinda created this Chekhov's gun and then just didn't do anything with it, and, like
Especially because at the beginning, when he comes forward with the page, he's like, "Well, your great granddaddy used to tell you this thing, but mine used to tell me this," and he pulls out the page,
and he
and
brags about being, like, a descendant of a Confederate general, and, like, it just
why
I
would you
feel
brag
like would've
about that? That was
yeah,
weird.
first off, why would you brag about that?
Yeah.
Second off, I just feel like it would have been stronger if they were like, "Oh, the entire motivation behind this is that" like, make him a bad guy. Sean Bean's character is a cartoonish bad guy in the beginning, and that's what makes it
Yep.
fun. Make him a cartoonish bad guy who's like, "You fucked my family because my father, my great whatever fucking grandfather stood up for what he believes in, and I'm the descendant of his brothers, whatever." Nobody knows shit about John Wilkes Booth's family. Who gives a
Yeah.
fuck?
As a
There's a
villain, he was terrible, in my opinion.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I didn't
And,
understand
like,
any of his
nobody would have
motivation.
questioned there's a show that used to be on Fox where the main character, just because they gave him the last name Booth, you find out in, like, the 6th season he's a descendant of John Wilkes Booth. Nobody gives a fuck because nobody knows about John Wilkes Booth's family. So, like, you could have done
Yeah,
that and it
yeah, you
would have
could have
been
said
clever and
whatever.
made more sense rather than it just being a great-great-grandson of a Confederate general. And the other
Maybe it's
thing that
implied.
bothers me is the removing so he's like, my great-great-grandfather told my grandfather this story who told me, where Patrick Gates is saying, my grandfather who was there the
There.
night that his
Yeah.
father died told, like, why are we believing this huge degree of separation versus I literally was told this by an eyewitness, you know? Like, it just
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Mhm.
like, no, dude was there.
I will
Yeah.
say that
It
you're
was
totally right,
traumatized.
but it's like that argument between them felt like an argument that I could literally walk outside and see, for the record. Like, it seemed like a
Sure.
genuine argument that I could hear tomorrow. Like, how they were going at each other, that seemed genuine to me. So, I just want that on the record.
Yeah, I'll commend that, and I do kind of want to just like talk about what's the name, like Wilkinson's again. Like I think there's just bad motivations all
Totally.
around everywhere because it's like you were saying, it's like I don't understand his motivation, and so it's like I think we determined earlier that kind of all Wilkinson does is really is like he taps Patrick's phone and then just follows Gates to the treasure. But when they're in England, Wilkinson's men are trying to kill Ben Gates to get
Get that
the
tablet,
plank from
yeah.
him.
The
Yeah, and so
plank,
I'm sitting there, I'm like, why would you kill the guy that's leading you to the treasure?
Also, Sean Bean's character did a lot of bad things, but he never beat up an old man. I think breaking into an old man's house and bashing him over the head is like low. Like, you didn't need
Yeah.
to bash that old man that hard over the head. Like,
They did kidnap Abigail. Briefly, but I mean, you know.
and she's okay. I don't mean to victim blame here, but Ben told Abigail multiple times to go back inside and that what he was doing was dangerous. And she went, I'm coming with you. So at a
Oh, yeah.
certain point, girl opened herself up to being kidnapped. Like,
I felt
if you-
like I felt like Sean Bean's character had a code. I feel like he had a code, whereas this Ed Harris guy, I have no idea.
he could have kidnapped that little black boy and like beaten the shit out of him until he remembered what he told Riley.
Instead-
But he's just
Instead,
very
he gave him
nice to
$100.
$100. Yeah.
Instead, he gave him
Yeah.
$100. He got on his knee to get on his level when talking to him, and the kid kind of like snapped at him, and he didn't care. He's like, oh, okay. Where if he would have snapped at that Ed Harris character, he probably would have.
when the
Which-
kid just like bodies in front of him to look at the thing to start counting, Sean Bean's like, "Oh no, you're fine," and just like backs up
Yeah.
and let him go.
Yeah, he was like, oh, it's a kid. Yeah, whatever.
He had
Try
a
doing like a
code.
school assignment or something. Yeah.
like live your dreams. It's fine.
Which, speaking of kids, that kid at the Easter egg hunt.
Fuck that kid. Fuck that
Loved
kid.
him. Loved him.
Fuck that
Loved him.
kid. I
Doesn't make
wrote
any
a note
sense. I
being
love
like,
it.
stop fighting with this child in public, but also it's like, this is why I don't have children.
I
This
could
is
watch
why.
like a short film of them just going back and forth for 5 to 10 minutes.
It also just felt like the writer's way to kind of remind people, is like, hey, Ben Gates knows a lot about history. Don't
And
forget that he knows a lot of stuff.
And apparently, this
Also-
kid.
And also this kid for some reason, yeah.
You know that boy's father is a QAnoner. You know it. That he
Oh,
knows all this because his father's a
100%.
QAnoner.
Oh,
And like into like
100%.
conspiracies. Like, that child was sent to the Easter egg roll to get insider information on shit so
Absolutely,
that
dude.
his father could get on the grounds of the What If.
Pre QAnon.
I do have
Like
one more point that I want to make before I forget, because I had 3 major points. It was the Riley and Patrick scene. It was the 9-year-old me being like, "Oh, what an anime character turn at the end. That was actually shit." And then it's regardless of how silly the Book of Secrets is as an idea, they set up the 3rd movie in a way that I was like, "Holy shit." Like, I want this the 2nd movie is bad.
Page
I don't
47.
Page
it's bad.
47, yeah.
But the page 47 thing fucking got me even now. I was like, I want to see what they were doing. Like, I'm into that.
So
Regardless, like,
it's so
I'll
funny you say that. That's my final note to where I was like, wait, what's on page 27?
Exactly.
Well, that's
Oh.
also something I made a note of, was just like when the president thanked Riley and like Riley just like laughed, kind of like snorted. It's like, that's how we react if the president like thanked us.
That was cool, and I did appreciate that it was. He's like, you read that in the book, right? And he goes, what book? And I went,
Then there's,
Um.
there's the clear like Riley scene where it's like, no, Riley, we need you, no, blah, 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 no. And when they're going to sacrifice him or
all
whatever.
of his comedic bits hit.
Totally.
Oh yeah.
Another and also again another one of my notes is Riley is the perfect ride or die, because there's a point where where Ben's like, no, I'm gonna stay, you guys go, and Riley's like, fuck you, dude, I'm getting you out of here.
Twice. Because there's
I
the
know.
scene where Ben's putting his hand in that hole, and Riley's like, I'll do it, Ben. And Ben's like, no,
Yeah,
no,
let
no, I
me
got this.
let me
Yeah.
at it. Yeah.
He did it twice.
So I like that you bring up that scene, because that scene was about to happen when I was watching it. And I was like, I vaguely remember, because I own both of these movies on DVD. I was like, I vaguely remember there being an outtake where he sticks his hand in and screams as a joke. And then it happened, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I guess that wasn't an outtake. That's just actually how
then-
the movie goes.
And then Voight's laugh was a perfect dad laugh. He's like,
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
loved it.
Gotcha.
I will say, if the television series or the 3rd movie is about Area
Page 47?
51, I'm
No.
throwing myself off a building.
It's not Area 51 because they would have commented on that being on the page 47. You know what I mean? They commented on Area 51.
You do see Ben flipping in, right? It's like, Area 51, and he's like, we don't have time.
That's what I mean.
Do not have time to worry about that. I wrote a note that says "Take notes, boy" with 6 exclamation points, and I have no idea what that
Take notes,
says.
boy.
I also think, like, if I was Ben as a character, yeah, I'm skipping that. But me, my willpower, if I found this book, I'm just going
taking it.
picture, 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 picture. Like,
What, on a Motorola Razor?
I would try, because there's no way I'm going to be able to see something about Area 51 and not at least try to read it. There's no way in
I do not have that kind of strength.
That was another one of my notes. When he sends the picture of a picture from that was in 1924 through a picture that's taken by a Motorola Razor. You think his mom's gonna be able to tell what these images are?
Everything about the camera resolutions in this movie is so hilarious. You have the traffic cam.
Yes.
And then my favorite thing, the 2006 drone. That zooms all the way in,
it's
and then it gets clearer.
It's on this screen that literally is smaller than my phone. It's like maybe this big. And hey, a lot of people, anyone who knows anything about history knows who Montesquieu is. It's not special.
Okay, I know Montesquieu.
It's not special to know who Montesquieu is. Like, if you learned about the Statue of Liberty as a kid, you know about Montesquieu. My issue, though, is that so these French policemen come up on their little bikes, and they're struggling to read the French. And it's like, you are French. Why are you not? Because they're like reza, stand, twid, and it's like, this is your native language.
It's also one of my favorite jokes too. The way that dude is struggling to read his own language, and then the guy behind him is just kind of repeating the last like syllable of everything.
Resolute, yes.
It's like, what?
Nailed that one.
I'm telling you,
There are transfers. There are transfers.
It's weirdly nationalist.
Totally.
Yeah, because that's the other thing of like where they're like, oh, American. And it's like, I don't mean to, and I'm not going to speak for the whole country, but like I've met a lot of French people. They're all incredibly kind and tend to like be incredibly helpful if you don't understand the language. Like I remember going to, so there's a really popular French restaurant in New York City, and everybody who works there like grew up in France and has moved to New York for whatever reason. They're all incredibly kind people who are like, no, it's fine that you don't know how to pronounce it, like it's totally fine, like, and try to help me like pronounce. And I don't know, I was like 18, so maybe the guy was hitting on me, but they were all very nice people. So like I just hate that stereotype of like, oh, you American, because that's just like not
Well,
the
I think
experience
it's
I
also
have with
just
the
kind of the
French.
way that they're portrayed though too is very early 2000s
I
to
agree.
where I mean they probably filmed this like 05, 06, and so you're just a few years removed from 9/11, which made us all like America, hell yeah. But then also it's because like friends, you know, we were in Iraq and Afghanistan at the time that this was going on too, and there's just kind of this running thing that Americans did for a while where we would just smear France for, you know, cowards, surrendered, and all that stuff. Like that was just kind of a thing. Like it's to the point where I was actually reading this thing on the Ultimates, if you're familiar with the Avengers during the Ultimate Marvel reboot, and there's a really famous, like, at first it's terrible. I do not recommend it at all. It's really cringy and edgy for no reason, and it's just it's the worst product of the early 2000s. That and in like all of those ways. And there's a really famous line that Captain America has where he points to his helmet and he goes, "What do you think this A stands for, France?" Like there was this weird thing where Americans just smeared France for no reason for a little while, and that's really prevalent in that scene in the movie. And I was sitting there like, that's why I'm saying, I was like, this movie is just weirdly so like it wants to be like America's so cool and shoves it like down your throat the whole time.
I
They
just
still
don't
give him a
get
ticket
it.
though.
They just
No, they gave Riley
no,
a
they gave
ticket.
Riley a ticket.
Right, yeah.
Because
He's like,
everyone
"All
shits on
right."
Riley in that movie.
Yeah. It's just like, I don't know. It just really bugs me because like everything I have learned since leaving the American schooling system is that like the French are great. Like the shit they did in World War II to stand up against the Nazis is really impressive. Like they did more than any other country. They had this crazy underground fighting against the Nazis, and I don't know. It really bugs me that they're like, so also they're our allies. Like, why are we doing this? Like, we've always had a really good relationship with France.
It
Like,
makes no sense.
I don't get it.
I do have one more note as well. And this note was just when Abigail comes back with her new boyfriend and he showed up, and then I was like, oh shit, it's Ty Burrell.
So did
Yeah.
I.
That's just the Modern Family guy.
Yep.
I was
Wasn't he? Because I remember that there being a man briefly in the first one, but was it not him?
there
No,
was
it was a different guy.
there was
Okay.
the weird
A
like
coworker that stares at her booty for like 30
Yeah.
seconds in one
Okay.
scene.
where she
That's not
notices.
Ty Burrell.
And they
Yeah,
pointed it, and it because they had the one joke too when Ben sends her the button that she was missing.
Mhm.
Like her coworker brings it in, and she goes, "I hope it's not from Stan." And I'm
it's
sitting
not
there, and I was
Stan.
like, "Oh God, that's the guy."
However, I wish they had not named him Connor. Like,
Connor.
give him a better name than Connor.
Yeah.
Also, though, if you like Ty Burrell, watch Skeleton Twins. Ty Burrell is a fantastic actor across the board. I love Ty Burrell. I was very excited when he popped up. I literally yelled Phil Dunphy in my
Yep.
one of my neighbors was probably concerned because I was like, Phil Dunphy, because I just finished watching Modern Family for the first time.
I completely forgot he was in this movie. Like,
I didn't
Same.
know if before this rewatch you had said. Although, granted, I think it's because when I went to watch this, I pulled it up on Disney Plus and I saw that it was like already an hour and 9 minutes in. I was like, why didn't I finish watching this? And then I remembered it's because every once in a while I go, I want to watch both National Treasure movies back to back and have like a me night where I like do a face mask and watch these movies. And then I get halfway through this 2 hour and 4 minute movie and realize that it should only be an hour and a half.
Yes.
And
I
like,
made a note
that's
about
why.
that. Can't remember, but yeah,
It's
just-
way too long.
Because that's
Yeah.
way too long.
Yeah, I did make a note of that. Oh yeah, about let's see, I made it after that. Yeah, somewhere around the president kidnapping scene, there's like, oh, there's still 50 minutes left of this.
God damn, that's the halfway point.
Basically, yeah.
So long.
So before we get out of here, I just got a couple fun facts for you guys. Let's see. The night before the scenes at the University of Maryland were to be filmed, half an inch of snow fell. The crew had to use fire hoses to hose off the entire McKinley Mall and nearby locations to melt the snow to continue the movie.
That's incredible.
Because of her role in The Queen, Dame Helen Mirren was invited to meet Queen Elizabeth II, but could not make it because she was filming in South Dakota for this movie.
No. I would have left, bro.
Right?
I'd have left. I'd be like, nah, I'm gonna go meet the queen.
Yeah.
Christ.
That sucks.
Let's see. The
For a
area,
bad
Poor
movie.
Dame Helen Mirren.
yeah. The area Library of Congress in which they find the Book of Secrets does not exist as an area of bookshelves. These were constructed as a prop library in a previous empty balcony of the library main room.
Really quick, Abigail looks hot as fuck in that scene. When it's the low shot and she busts in the black turtleneck and leather jacket and cargo pants, she looks hot.
All right.
Just a thought, just a fact. I don't know.
Just a fact. Love it.
And then, yeah, the one I already said at the beginning of the podcast that the lake depicted immediately behind Mount Rushmore is Sylvan Lake, but it's actually about 20 miles southwest of the monument.
So. All right.
Well, that's you got to fit the whole city in there, like plus all the traps and stuff. Like it's eventually you come out like on top of the monument, I think.
Yeah.
That does remind me that I just before we go, I don't think that Mirren and Voight had any chemistry in the sense of like an actual married couple, like at all.
No.
I can't
like
imagine
there's scenes where they stumble across, like, I don't have a problem with them stumbling across the gold, but there's scene where they kiss each other. They have a moment. I was like, they didn't cut this? Why is this here?
It's weird.
It was really bad.
Whole movie's way too long.
There's so much.
There's too much in it.
I want to rewrite it because I don't mean to knock the writers of this, except I kind of do. I feel like I could write a better one. I feel like
Do it.
Like I just
you have to leave the anime twist at the end.
Sure. Ed Harris.
Tell him we found it. Tell him it was me.
He pushed it.
I will say the last note I have for this movie. Is that the horniest "so" that's ever been said in film?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
All right. Any closing thoughts?
I got another map.
It leads to the same place as last.
I will say the last thing I will say, what I will leave it on, is I do enjoy Helen Mirren's line to John Voight when he's like, "But there was a treasure," and she's like, "You didn't find it, Ben did," is the funniest fucking thing I have ever heard.
Which, yeah.
What also, I felt that was one apparent because she's like, "You didn't do anything." I was like, did he spend like half of his life like uncovering clues for that?
Yes, Ben would not have had the starting point if it wasn't for his grandfather and his dad. But I appreciate it. Also, piece of advice to college students: wait until you're like 30 feet away from your professor's door before yelling, "God, I hate her." Just a tip. Like,
yep.
Just wait until you're further away. Get outside and yell it.
Or just wait till the door's closed.
Yeah, don't say it as you're leaving.
If you're gonna do that, yeah, you just say it to their face and then leave.
However, I did enjoy Riley's line of, "I'm gonna stay out of the line of fire. I just want to stay right here."
He's like, I'll meet you guys back out here. I did also appreciate that little bit of content at the end where he's like, "We haven't officially met. I'm Riley.
Hi, I'm your son's best friend, and I've risked my freedom for him multiple times."
Checks out.
That should be
this movie
dead in Guantanamo Bay at the end of this,
yeah.
but whatever.
Just watch National Treasure 1. Don't bother with this one.
Yep, do not bother with it.
Just watch this again.
2 shouldn't have been made. I think 3 should have been made simply because I want to know what was on page 47. That's it.
Yeah.
Let
us review the third movie and the series before you watch it also, because I have low
Are both happening? I thought it was just the series.
Someone told me that it was the third movie and a series. I have no idea. All I know
so
is
apparently the name of the third movie was going to be page 47.
Yeah.
That's dope.
No.
That's dope.
And Agent 47 shows up.
The rumor is that it was supposed to be the truth about the Georgia Guidestones. The Georgia Guidestones were erected in 1980 under mysterious circumstances in Elbert County, Georgia. To this day, the true authors of the Guidestones have never been revealed. I've never heard of it. Yeah.
No idea what that is.
And that's apparently what it was supposed to be.
But I'm here for this fake history that they would surround it with.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
no,
they
yeah,
are
none of it
anticipating
would be factual.
they are anticipating John Turteltaub will return for National Treasure 3 and are hoping that it was supposed to release this year, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic was put on hold indefinitely, and now they're hoping that it will come out sometime in 2023, 2024 as a Disney Plus exclusive.
Wait, so they filmed some of it already?
No, it looks like they
okay.
hadn't finished filming it. Oh, Diane Kruger just did a whole interview about this.
What?
So she's coming back.
Yes.
What's His Nuts is Riley is coming back. Nick Cage is coming back. In
Look, he has to. He's kind of the main
2020, a new Disney Plus National Treasure series was announced and is now in the early stages of production. The series will follow Alexis as Jess Morales, a young Latina adventurer seeking secrets about her family's mysterious past. And they're still trying to develop a third movie with Diane Kruger and the original cast that would be about page 47.
I shouldn't be as hyped as I am about page 47, but I am. I don't care.
Hi, sweet girl.
They set that up. That was the only good thing they did in this movie, in my opinion, was set up a third movie with like 4 lines of dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Marvel that was not. I'll tell you.
Yeah, swing and a miss here, but
if you just need 4.
I was like, if you just need something to like just turn your brain off to, and you like the vibes of the first one, go for it.
But watch the first one first.
I couldn't even remark that. I was like, the soundtrack on this one slaps because I don't think they recorded anything new for this movie.
I don't think so.
That's funny.
I think they used the same music.
Yeah. Which, I mean, yep, they had only like, it was about the same budget. You know, first one's $100 million, second one's 130. Yeah, so
yeah,
saved a lot of money, and it definitely shows.
Yeah, the first movie is like a good 7. It's a good 7 in my opinion, and then this one's like a bad 4. Like on it, like night and day.
Put it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a steep drop off.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for watching. Please leave a like, comment what your favorite part of the movie is, I guess, if you made it this far. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.